Today is Freedom Day, a day to celebrate democratic South Africa and the journey it took to get us here. On April the 28th in 1994, nearly 20 million South Africans cast their first ever ballot in the country's first democratic election. 19 political parties contested the elections, although it would be a runaway victory by the time the voting booths closed. And indeed, it was a landslide victory for the African National Congress. The party won 62.6% of the vote. The ANC has remained in power since the dawn of democracy. About 2 weeks after those landmark elections, Nelson Mandela was sworn in as South Africa's first democratically elected president. A year later, in 1995, we celebrated our first Freedom Day. This year marks the 28th commemoration of our first democratic election. And so every year we remember and acknowledge the sacrifices that many patriots made so that we may enjoy the many freedoms we have today. And although we've come a long way since 1994, the work is not done. Unemployment, poverty and inequality remain our biggest stumbling blocks. In 2022, for the third time, or rather Freedom Day celebrations may still look a little different due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, and government is calling on South Africans to use Freedom Day as a reminder to pull together so that we can emerge from this pandemic stronger as a nation. All right, talking about that, Freedom Day celebrations are underway in Middelburg in Mpumalanga. President Cyril Ramaphosa's keynote address is now expected to happen just after 12 o'clock. Let's cross live now to Govan Whittles, who is there for us covering the celebrations. Govan, you told me a little earlier on that you caught a glimpse of the president.
Looked like his convoy was arriving just a few moments ago, Masejo, and it looks like the parade is about to get started. Let's bring you live visuals of that. Coming to you live from the venue of the National Freedom Day celebrations here in Middelburg, Mpumalanga. And we are expecting the president to receive a 21-gun salute from the SANDF members that are here. You'll see in picture, there's the military band, and behind them, that's the ceremonial guard of honor, which is always present at the Union Building. You'll recognize them by their green uniforms. And the SANDF forming part of today's celebrations with that 21-gun salute, and they've also stepped up their efforts to recruit more members. SANDF currently on a drive to get bigger budget allocations so that they could bolster the defense force. This as the army is deployed in Cabo Delgado and in the DRC and in KwaZulu-Natal, where it was responding to some of the flood efforts. So it is the National Freedom Day celebrations, the theme this year, defending the gains of our democracy, and we're expecting to hear from the president about how that should be done, and to reflect on the freedoms that have been won and the freedoms that have been achieved even in the democratic dispensation. The program's about an hour late, but they look like they're about to start now, and of course we'll bring you live coverage of that as it happens. There's also a number of ministers that are here, members of the provincial government and local councillors, but it really is all about the residents of Middelburg, some of them being bussed in from as far as Standerton, many of them ANC supporters, and they're being brought here to attend these celebrations because these celebrations are happening in person. And this is quite a difference from the COVID protocols that we had before, and we're expecting to see more direct engagement between the people and the government today. In picture, you'll see that the guard is getting into place. It looks like they're getting ready to receive the president. Presidential convoy has already arrived. He's in that holding tent, and just underneath that main gazebo stage to the right of it would be the leadership of the SANDF, the generals from the Army, the Navy, the Air Force and the health services as well. So we'll bring you the latest from this side as it happens, and right now it looks like we're about to witness the 21-gun salute. Masejo, it's back to you.
And Govan, while we wait for that to happen, and of course once it does, you and I will keep quiet to let the viewers enjoy that natural sound. But just very quickly, you've been speaking to young and old people who are there at today's commemoration. What are they telling you in terms of what freedom means to them?
Yeah, we've spoken to a number of young people, elderly people as well, many of them thankful for the freedoms that were secured in 1994 with the political victory over apartheid and the ushering in of the democratic dispensation. But many of the young people here are very disillusioned. Only a handful of them are actually employed. This week we heard youth unemployment is at 65% in the country. And the depression and desperation on the faces of the young people, even here in Middelburg, is evident as they're all struggling for jobs. Some of them coming here hoping to get opportunities from the different government departments that are in Middelburg to celebrate Freedom Day. And they have been meeting with the military, with the police, with the Department of Health, which is also here, and the Department of Social Development, which has been taking contact details for people who may require assistance. So it's a desperate situation, Masejo, with many young people in the country desperate for work, desperate for a way to make a living, but they're also cognizant of the hard-won victory that was freedom in 1994, and they're here to appreciate it, but also learn about how to safeguard that in the future.
And Govan, just very quickly, if you could just let us know what's on the program so the viewers get an understanding of who to expect to hear from today.
Today we'll be hearing from the provincial government. We expect to hear from the MEC of Arts and Culture as well as the Premier of the province, although we understand the Premier may have delegated that MEC to take over. She may not be able to attend on time. Then we'll also hear from the National Minister of Arts and Culture, Natim Tetwa. I see Ronald Lamola, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, is also in attendance. Earlier we heard from some of the groups that have been brought in to perform here. That's just the entertainment, but of course the keynote being delivered by the President. And that speech is expected to take place at 12, although we are a little delayed. It does look like we're starting now. I know it did seem that way a little bit earlier, Masejo, but there seems to be more movement here. I see that the generals are also heading to the stage now, or at least some of the senior members of the SANDF. And it looks like the red carpet is being given the last brush before the President walks out, so things should get underway shortly.
I think maybe we should stay with the visuals just a little bit more, Govan, as you know, they give that musical item. I think, as you said, maybe waiting for the President to make his way there. But also, you spoke to healthcare workers. I believe I saw you speak to healthcare workers while you were also chatting to our colleague Ropiwa Matsena. I wonder what they're saying, especially with these past 2 years plus being so difficult for the healthcare system.
Here, a number of healthcare workers from Mpumalanga government come out to celebrate Freedom Day, but also to assist at the COVID screening and vaccination site, which has been set up here at the stadium where the National Freedom Day celebrations are taking place. And they say that they believe that access to healthcare is fundamental freedom, which is hard-won through fighting apartheid, and that's something they're proud to defend on a daily basis. We spoke to one of the doctors that's been helping at the provincial hospitals and saying there they do try to make sure that everyone's right to healthcare is protected at all times. So they're happy to be here. They're hoping to hear from the provincial health department about any plans they have going forward. But they essentially have been brought out here to assist the people, helping them get COVID vaccinations. Something they say has slowed down a little, but is starting to pick up again as people come in for their booster shots. So that's their contribution here on Freedom Day. And of course there are other sections of the population, of the government that are here, the emergency services, as well as the army, as well as staff from the Tutuzela centers, which care for the homeless and destitute people in South Africa, trying to create some awareness about what people can do when they also have relatives that are struggling with drug addiction, trying to get them into rehab. So these are some of the things that they say are freedoms which should be enjoyed by everyone and accessed by everyone. And the reason why those tents are here, why those government departments are here, is to create awareness among the general public that they can make use of those services. And that is something that they should be doing. That's something that the departments obviously hope will be done following today's events.
And Govan, I know I can't ask you to, preempt what the president might say today, but, looking at where the country is right now, 28 years after democracy, and of course the ANC winning back in 1994 on this day with a 62.6% landslide during those elections, we can't say the same about them right now, can we?
Yeah, well, the ANC support is in decline. Declined in 2019 and looked like it declined again last year in the local government election with, for the first time, them going below 50%. And it does look like there is an emergence of different parties which have a different interpretation of how freedom should be defended. And I know I've spoken a lot here, Masego. I think let's speak to some of the other people here. There's a group of residents from Middelburg that are sitting just a few meters away from me. I've asked one of them to come in here. We'll talk about Freedom Day. How are you, sir?
I'm fine.
Yeah, just tell us what you think about Freedom Day. What kind of freedoms you believe should be defended?
Freedoms which should be defended is like the access to justice and access to basic services. And that comes at, under certain socio-economic statuses in this country. So that means people are not benefiting equally, as it is enshrined in the Constitution. So I think if you have money, you experience freedom more. For even today when I woke up, I thought it's Freedom Day. What should I do? Should I come here? I had to convince myself to be here. But since I'm...
Why is that? Why do you have to convince yourself?
For we don't have equal accesses to things as the society and the people. That's one thing. If you have money, you have access to justice. I can put it, for example, look at the NSFAS case where there's a girl who around about 14 million. She's just a person who was at the wrong end of the receiving, and she comes from a poor society. I do not blame her when she used that money. What can I do when I'm poor?
So what about your personal freedom? Do you feel you have it and that you're using it?
It's there on paper, but not there in real life terms. I even struggle to buy a bread. So how can I be free when I'm hungry? And there's a guy driving a Mercedes. I'm not saying that they should not have them, but individual wealth over mass deprivation is something which is wrong. I cannot stand for that.
All right, thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time. Yeah, those sentiments definitely shared by a lot of people here, not only in Middelburg, but across the country. Some poignant points of view raised by that gentleman then. Let's take you back to some of the visuals of the band. They're still warming up. Looks like there is more movement now on the field, and every time it appears that things will be getting underway, but then there seems to be some sort of delay, which is leading to the president not coming out yet, although everything does seem to be in place. I think we'll go back to you for now, Marcel.
I thought that we'd probably be catching a glimpse of the president walking out, but it looks like there's a few more moments for us to wait before it officially gets underway. That was Govan Whittles in Middelburg in Mpumalanga, where the ANC president, Cyril Ramaphosa, South African president rather, Cyril Ramaphosa, will be addressing us in terms of it being 28 years since South Africa became a democratic country. We will take you back to Middelburg as soon as that program officially gets underway.